News to hear. Very good news. Like I said, we're going to have each of our children's homes representatives speak to us tonight. We'll have an abbreviated song service and just trying to allot as much time to them as we can. So we'll go kind of break it up 2 by 2, and Scott will announce right before they get up. So let's have a quick prayer, and we'll get started with the song. Our Holy Father in heaven, we are so thankful that we were able to come together and worship you today. Pray that you'll bless our service that we're going to have tonight. Thankful for each of our speakers that made the journey here for this morning, that helped us with our morning worship to you. And we're thankful we can hear from each of them this evening about the work that they're doing, any needs they might have that we can help them fulfill. Pray that you'll be with us as we go out through the rest of this week, that we can take the message far and wide to those who haven't heard it yet. In Christ's name we pray. Amen.
Let's open our song service tonight with number 843 in the books, God Give Us Christian Homes.
God give us Christian homes, homes where the Bible is taught and taught, homes where the Master's will is sought, homes crowned with beauty by love and thought. God give us Christian homes, God give us Christian homes, God give us Christian homes, homes where
from Eric Brandell from Westview, and then following Eric's talk, then Brian York from Fairhaven will be bringing their reports.
Well, I too would like to commend the congregation for participating in Stand Sunday. You all introduced me to that, and so I really appreciate the focus that you are making today, and look forward to our continued relationship together. We're so grateful at Westview to have your partnership and to be able to share a little bit this evening. Like so many of my coworkers here, we are a nonprofit residential childcare agency with family-style living, and we are supported by Churches of Christ. We are all private placements, so we are not working hand in hand with the state or with the government in any way, but we have our donor partners, such as this congregation, that allow us to do what we've been doing since 1956. Our original board of directors purchased from the defunct Westview school system their property, and we began working to serve young men back in 1956. Many of you have asked, where is Westview? We are as far southwest as you can go within Oklahoma. We are in Harmon County, just outside of Hollis, and we value that rural setting. This is a map of the area. The blue square is Hollis proper, and then the green squares and rectangles are our property, just over 1,500 acres that we utilize there in Harmon County. We are a working ranch, particularly with cattle, cotton, and hay. And again, we value that rural setting. We believe that it is an environment conducive to the healing that our young men are in need of. And particularly, it allows them to participate in hands-on activities, particularly showing animals, cattle, and pigs, but also gives them a necessary environment in which that they can heal. All of our programs at Westview are assertive interventions. And what we want to get across in that statement is that we are not simply a safe place to come and spell for a while to get away from some difficult circumstances, though we are that, but we want to assertively impact the lives of these young people, and we do that in any number of ways. We focus a lot on lifestyle management. We have caregivers in each of our houses that are on the job 24/7, basically, until their week's off. And we focus on lifestyle management, helping these young men learn how to navigate daily relationships. We offer professional counseling. We have one counselor on contract there in Harmon County that works with our young men on a regular basis, helping them to achieve the goals that they and their family of origin are setting for them. We value education. Our boys go to public school there in Hollis. We have a good relationship with Hollis Public Schools and believe that for our context, is an important option for those young men to be able to experience the school setting and to be able to begin to learn how best to navigate those relationships. We focus a lot on health and nutrition. We believe that emotionally and spiritually, those young men can only be as healthy as they are physically. And physical health, a lot of times, from the environments for which they have come, was not a focus. And so we do spend some time talking about the import of physical health. We do participate in livestock programs, 4-H and FFA. And we have seen tremendous therapeutic benefits for our young men. Oftentimes, they come to us having never had the opportunity to be in charge of a project or even to be in charge, certainly, of another living being. And so we have seen a lot of benefit from their being able to participate in those programs. Spiritual growth is obviously an important part of our program. Our young men are active members of the youth group of the Childress Church of Christ, which is a few miles down the road from us there in southwest Oklahoma. They take part in weekly and monthly youth activities, taking them to camp and other similar experiences during the year. And we believe that that is a valuable project as well. We encourage our young men to participate in appropriate social activities, and so we are able to have a fairly open campus, and we encourage them to take advantage of those opportunities as they present themselves. We do help our young men find opportunities for work. Most of them begin in a summer program within Westview there on campus. We give them an opportunity to apply for a job with us. We go through an interview process to sort of train them in a safe environment, what that might look like in the real world, and then they do that work and they get a wage. And again, usually that takes place in the summer. Some of our older young men do have jobs within the community as well. And ultimately, we have a view towards transition planning for our young men. For some, that transition means going back home and being back with their family of origin. And for some, it is more of a high school graduation and transitioning on into adulthood. Hospitality is a key focus for us at Westview, and we think of our relationship with these young men in terms of three movements of hospitality. First of all, we welcome these young men in. We welcome them to come in with us, and we provide them with spaces of welcome, whether that be community and school and church and a home. And within those spaces, we want them to abide with us. We want them to stay together among themselves and among us, and give them a space for worship, for eating, for talking, and for healing, ultimately with a goal of sending them forth, of allowing them to go out as young men who are equipped, who are transformed, and who are launched with a mission. We pair with hospitality 5 ethical principles, all having to do with respect. And so these are phrases that are repeated on a daily basis in our houses with our young men, promoting a respect for God, a respect for others, a respect for self, which those who heard Dirk's lesson this morning, oftentimes this is the one that the kids struggle most with, having a respect for self because they haven't had much autonomy in their young lives. We add to those key respects also a respect for property, teaching them how to take care of their things. And again, that's another difficult one. Oftentimes, these boys will come to us with a trash bag, literally, of a few clothes, and that is all the possession that they have. And so helping them look after and respect property, and then finally, developing a respect for nature. We have 4 homes there in Harmon County. They are very nice facilities, and each of our home, we have a 24-bed capacity, and each of our houses is overseen by a caregiver couple. And so they have anywhere from 2 to 8 young men in their house. And again, we try to approximate as close as possible a family-style living with that hospitality idea in mind. We utilize evidence-based methodologies and best practices, and all these things are very important to us, and we believe to the success that we have. We are a trauma-informed community, and maybe 20, 30, 40 years ago, that wasn't so much the case. We are practitioners of trust-based relational intervention, which is a parenting or caregiver methodology out of TCU that we have found to be very beneficial. And there are other certifications that our caregivers possess. More recently, we have begun to take a lifespan view of our young men, thinking in terms of childhood and then moving on to adolescence and ultimately to young adulthood. And our flagship program, the Boys Home there in Hollis, focuses on those assertive interventions to the adolescent age. We serve young men aged 12 to 18. But several years ago, we began to begin dreaming and thinking about how we could impact those on the earlier side of the spectrum within childhood. And we established Westview Family Services. And that is a preventative arm of our organization. And we actually have offices here in Oklahoma City, and I manage that office. We are just north of Chesapeake. And some of the things that we are focusing on within Westview Family Services are prevention and education. We offer parental training classes and coaching, as well as therapeutic counseling. And so we have 2 LPCs on contract here in Oklahoma City, as well as education, training various workers, particularly within the methodology of trust-based relational intervention. And on the far side of the spectrum, the young adult side, we attempt to assist in a guided transition. We are really excited about building a neighborhood in Weatherford, Oklahoma. We recently purchased over 5.5 acres there, and we'll be broke ground just in July, a few months ago, where we will be building 4 homes, and a mentor couple will be living there, and we'll be serving young men aged 18 to 24 as they age out of foster care or other residential care programs, and we're able to assist them, launching them, as it were, into adulthood. We seek to be our Westview launch. We're responding supportively to the slower maturing of some adolescents into adulthood, providing basic security needs while connecting with educational opportunities as well as work-related opportunities. We'll offer access to counseling and other social work professionals, providing a supportive Christian community for these young men. Connecting with a family of faith, we've established a relationship with the Weatherford Church of Christ in this effort, and with the goal of ramping youth up to a healthy, productive, independent living. I was able to visit with some of your deacons today at lunch, sharing that we often host work groups, whether that be youth groups or groups of deacons, families that come and serve in various projects there in Hollis. And we'll also, as we begin the program in Weatherford, we'll particularly be looking to outfit our kitchens monetarily, as well as seeking those who have life skills that they would be willing to come over for a couple of nights in a week to share with our young men, helping them learn some necessary skills similar to carpentry, small engine repair, or cooking. We are really grateful for your attention this evening, and I will pass it on to our next presenter.
Good evening. I'm excited to be here because I get to learn about the other works that are going on, and ours is a little bit different. We're in Strafford, Missouri, and most of you don't know where that is, but maybe you know where Springfield is. We're just a few miles east of Springfield. Fairhaven Children's Home was established in 1964 by the North National Church of Christ there in Springfield. It is now the Watermill Church of Christ, and you'll see our building on the north side of I-44 if you drive past Springfield. We predominantly take in state-placed children. And we have changed our license over a little bit, and so you might have noticed that it said that we do foster care. We're still the house parent model, but all of our kids are in the foster system. We do take a few private placements, but those are actually more rare for us and a little bit more difficult for us to take in, but we have done that. We've even done that for some members of the church that might have been going through some turmoils at home, problems at home, or a divorce, something like that, where the kids were getting caught in the middle of it, and they decided it would be best for the children. Can we place them with you until we can get all of this worked out? And so they've done that. I like to talk a little bit about why we do what we do. And it's the kids. You know, we're all aware of the need. But I want you to know, because I've been guilty of thinking that it was somewhere else. I grew up in this tiny little town in Missouri called Pottersville. And I challenge you to find it on a map, okay? Because you can't do it. But if you can find West Plains, and it's outside of West Plains. And it's a couple of hours away from Fairhaven. And I always thought Fairhaven was all these, terrible kids that they're shipping in from big cities. That's what I thought. And so my wife and I, we raised our son, and when he got out of the house, keep in mind, raised a son. We came into our first household of kids, and it was 5 girls. Thank you. You get it. And they were teenage girls at that, and I thought, what in the world? What have I done? And it was a great training for me, but also 2 of those girls were from Pottersville, a town hours away, my hometown. They don't even put the population on the sign anymore. There's just a post office and a sign. And they're from my home. It's not in your city. It's in your neighborhood. There's kids down the street. And I know we hate thinking about this. We don't like to think about it. But I've dealt with so many of these young people that it hurts, the stories that they tell you, and you know that there's more that they don't tell you. But I hate to do this, but I want you to just take a moment and just think of the worst thing that you've heard of that's happened to a child. The worst thing that you can imagine that's happened to a child, that you've seen on a TV show, and you knew it wasn't real because it's on a TV show. It is real. It might not have been for that TV show, but it is happening in your neighborhood because it was happening in mine. It's happening next door. And these kids need hope. They need us. being there for them. They need hope for their lives. They need spiritual hope. We sent some young ladies back home, which was a good situation. And this little girl, she was 10 years old, never been to church before in her life. And we sent them home, and she said, "Mr. Bryan, we're going home." I said, "I know, I'm so happy for you. It's just great." "Yeah, and when we go home, we're going to tell Grandpa, we're going to church." And I thought, you know what? We're doing our job. We gave those children something that they didn't even know they were lacking, and we put it in their lives, and they didn't want to let go of it. We do it for the kids. You know, I can't speak to other states, and I won't, but I know in Missouri we have 13,000 kids in the system. 13,000 kids. We only have 5,000 foster homes in the whole state, and half of those are only licensed so that they can take in their own relatives, you know, nieces or nephews or grandchildren. We get calls every day for kids. Can you take these kids? And workers are calling us. So I ask, who's going to take care of these kids? Rather, we have gotten afraid of the work. And I've met with children's homes across the country, and we're seeing it everywhere. We're afraid of the work. I talk to people about being house parents, and they're like, "Oh, that's a hard work." Yeah. But they don't see me teaching a 7-year-old to ride a bicycle for the first time. They don't see me taking off the training wheels so he can learn to ride that bicycle. Of course, then he crashed into the walnut tree right in the middle of, not once, 3 times. And I was like, "Son, don't get hurt. There's too much paperwork." "Okay, Mr. Bryan." And he can ride his bike now. I've got a little 2-year-old. He's not verbal yet. He's having some difficulties. He's not verbal yet. Guess what he just learned? If you know American Sign Language, you know what this is. That's candy. Because he went trick-or-treating for the first time ever. His brothers for the first time ever. You know, this little 2-year-old, when Mama gets him up and gets him ready, he comes down the hall and he looks at me and goes, "Daddy." I'm like, "Okay." Mom says no. I'm like, "But he did this." And yeah, it's hard. But it is so rewarding to make a difference. We got some girls in January of 2012. So January 7th, they came to us, and they got to talking to us a little bit about Christmas, which had just been right before that. They said, "Yeah, the neighbors came over and brought us some presents, but Dad told them, if I can't buy them presents, you're not going to give them presents either," and he sent them on their way. And these little girls went out on Christmas Eve with scarves and wrapped up rocks so that they would have something to open on Christmas morning. So to give them a Christmas and to surround them with presents and to let them know that we love them, that congregations such as yourself love them and care about what's going on in their life, and shower them with presents. And the youngest, when she was 7, and I can talk more about them because we just decided to adopt them, so I can tell you whatever I want about them. The youngest, when she was 7, she was about this big. She's about this big, but she's about that big. Her dad pushed her out mom pushed her out on the front porch, 7 years old. Pushed her out on the front porch in the snow, wintertime, and locked the door, and she said, "He doesn't think you're his. He doesn't want you in this house." And locked a 7-year-old out in the snow. Why do we do it? We do it for the kids. We're there for them. The good brother talked this morning. Why do we do it? Because it's our job. We've been commissioned to do this. I challenge you to look up Deuteronomy 14. I know I'm probably running over my time, so I'll move faster, but Deuteronomy 14, 28 and 29, we can go all the way back, and God has always cared about taking care of those that can't take care of themselves. Rather, that's our job. People ask me what my title was, Director of Development, big fancy title, right? And they're like, what does that mean? I'm like, I'm the guy that begs for money. We get it, right? That's me. And so you might think that's what I'm going to ask for, and it's not. You know what we need? We need prayers. We need two things right now. We need prayers for the folks that are doing this job, the house parents that are in the houses, their kids, if they have their own children, they need your prayers. We need prayers for the kids that are on campus, that have come to us and are working through their difficulties. The second thing we need is we need house parents. And I think my brothers over here will probably say something similar to that, but we need house parents. We need workers. The kids are out there, and we can serve them, but we need help. We need folks that step up to do the work. And this is our job. Make a difference. You can. I'm going to go through that quickly, because what I really want to say, and these kids that are in here are not kids on campus. I'm not allowed to share their pictures for legal reasons because of the way we're licensed. We thank you. You're part of our work. You support us, so you are personally part of our work. And I wish I had some great word that it could express thank you better than that, because it sounds like it's not enough, but you are personally part of our work. And you are personally invited to come visit our work. I said it to a few folks, hey, we're only a few minutes from Branson. If you go to Branson, everyone goes to Branson, right? Don't fool me. I know you do. You're only a few miles away from us. Stop by. I'll show you campus. Stop by and I'll take you to lunch and we'll talk more about the work. Stop by and meet my kids. I love my kids. They're knuckleheads, but I love them. And they drive me crazy. But then when this little 2-year-old comes in, you're going to look at me and go get that boy some candy. We thank you because you make it possible for us to do what we get to do. Appreciate it.
Our next song is number 533 in the books, I Am a Sheep.
I am a sheep and the Lord is my shepherd, watching over my soul. My soul to keep guarding over me ever, watching wherever I go. And when the winds blow, He is my shelter. When I'm lost and alone, He rescues me. When the lion comes, He is my
Brothers Joe Waugh from Tipton and Dirk O'Donnell will bring their message.
I'm going to put this cell phone up here, that way y'all think I'm all technology-wise. I still can't see that clock. It is good to be here, and I have never been to Branson, Missouri in my life, and I'll never go because I'd have to stop by his place and have to help him work. So you just ruined it for me, too. I am Joe Waugh from Tipton, Oklahoma, Tipton home. I came there in 1966. I was 3 years old. Do it real quick, makes me 29. Anyway, my mom and dad were house parents there, and I grew up there, so I kind of know Tipton. But I do want to invite all of you to March 30th. We'll be having our 100-year celebration there at Tipton. We started in June of 1924. And so on March 30th of this coming year, we'll be celebrating 100 years in which we have helped over 5,000 children who have come through our doors. And I want to tell you something. It all started with a couple in Canadian, Texas. They went into the elders and they said, do you know of any orphans that need help? And of course, you know, it's 1920 when that happens in Canadian. And I said, do we know any orphans? They said, well, yes, we do. And there was a family of 6. Within about 6 months, they had to kind of redo what they were doing because they had 30 kids that had come in and were living with them in their little house. So they moved into a Baptist reformatory that was condemned when they moved in. If you've ever seen the old movie Pollyanna, you'll know kind of what I'm talking about. I don't know how you move into a condemned building, but they did. 1923, the city leaders of Canadian, Texas said, hey, you've got to do something different. And so they went around looking for a place to put the home, and a guy by the name of Saul Tipton, just coincidence on the name, it was one of the elders there. He said, you know, you can have this land here at Tipton. And they built it, and they went and got the kids, and they actually got them in a car called Star Cars from the Durant Motor Company. You've never heard of that either. It was only in America for 6 years, and Tipton had one of the dealerships. And we are going to have a car there in March of this coming year. So anyway, that's just a sidebar of everything. They went and got the kids, and we started in June of 1924. Now, when we started just like the old movie or the play, Annie, where you see all the girls in one section, all the boys in another, just like an orphanage. You had a man in charge of the boys, a woman in charge of the girls, and that's the way we got started. And then they went along there, and everything went fine for a while, but they started asking the question, is that the way you want to raise children? And the answer is no. I know it doesn't always happen in your families, it doesn't always happen in mine, but you know what? God wants a husband and a wife. He wants a mom and a dad. And I hate to have to say it, a male and a female. That's the way it works. That's what he wants in there. And so in the 50s, they started making cottages or dormitories around the half-mile circle that is still our campus today. And around this half-mile circle, we have 6 cottages, 4 cottages that are full-time, 2 cottages that are relief. We have 32 kids. We have about 30 there now. We have capacity for 32. We have 8 kids at a cottage. And that's the way we operate. We have 3 weeks on, 1 week off for our staff, and we are there. And we take I guess you could say, the lowest level of child care. We are the lowest level of child care in the state of Oklahoma. We don't have any barbed wire. We don't have any, our barbed wire is for our cows, not for our kids. We don't have any bars on the windows. We don't have those sort of things. Our kids attend the public schools there in Tipton. And they're involved in everything Tipton has to offer. You know, we go volleyball, football, softball, track, and we're huge into FFA, into 4-H, into showing animals. Our kids have to be involved in all those things. Otherwise, there wouldn't be a team in Tipton. We have won 8 state championships in Class C football. Last year was our last one. Not that any of us are counting, but we are undefeated this year too. Again, not that any of us have noticed. It is a big deal. And you think, well, that's, and our kids go to school there. And our board of directors is still our elders that it was in 1924. The elders of the church are still our board of directors. And so if you think about it, we're in a town of 750 people. We have 1 stop sign. Used to be a stoplight, but it got torn down and didn't get replaced. So we got 1 stoplight, and we've got 1 convenience store. That's what we have. So if you can imagine a town like that, and a town that small, wouldn't you think that we all know each other? We do. Now, we might not know the dog's name, but we know who the dog belongs to. That's true. I'm sorry. So the kids go to school, and what do you think? Our kids, you think they're going to get relief? The football coach is also the high school principal. He's also my nephew. Oh, by the way, his dad, one of the elders, he's the girls' basketball coach. He's my brother-in-law. And they were both, my brother-in-law, and the ag teacher, who's his brother, were raised at Tipton Home as house parents' kid. And then we've got other members of the church there, so we're a very close-knit family. We're a very close-knit society, and that's what our kids are. We don't have I don't know how to put this. We don't have a program per se. What we do is take a child from where they are to where they should be, and we hope to keep them all the way through college. We had 4 kids graduate last year. All 4 kids, their senior year, had a car, they had their own bank account, and they had their own cell phone. Now, the cell phone's the most dangerous thing you can have. So we have a cell phone on the desk of our social worker there in the office that is monitoring all their cell phones and knows what apps are on it, knows the times are on it. Also got Life 360 on it. We're monitoring all that. It worked out pretty good. That was our first time to go through that process, and it worked out pretty good. 3 of them in college. One of them has a job in Lawton. So we're still helping them through. That's what we want to do. We want to continue to do that. You see, when I say take them from where they are to where they should be, when a child is 0 to 6 years of age, you're a third of the way through raising them. When they're 6 to 12, you're 2/3, and 12 to 18, you're done. And so in America today, 0 to 6, they're just babies. Don't do anything to them. 6 to 12, it's a phase. They'll grow out of it. And then they're 13, and they're caught in somebody's stolen car, or they're doing these illegal things. It's not so funny anymore, is it? Average age of the child coming to Tipton Home over the last 10 or 15 years is 13. There's a reason for that, guys. That's the time things start changing. That's the things start opening up. Opportunities start coming along, okay? So we know those sort of things. And so on that scale I just gave you, 0 to 6, 6 to 12, 12 to 18, or 13 to 18, if you're 13 years old or 14, where are you on that scale? Yeah, you're 2/3 of the way done, aren't you? And yet we ask our house parents to come in there and we say, hey, here's this child. We've got to redo some things. We've got to change some things. It's a very tough job for a child, for a house parent. But believe you, it is the house parent, it is that staff that does such a good job with our kids. I believe it's in Deuteronomy 6:6-7, right in there. Lay these laws upon their hearts when they're walking in the road, when they rise in the morning, when they do. Let me reword that into modern terms. You lay these laws upon their hearts when you're playing basketball with them, when you're feeding the pigs, when you're mowing the grass, when you're taking them to ball games. That's when you lay these laws upon their hearts. That's what our house parents try to do. They're laying the laws upon their hearts in daily, weekly, minute-by-minute interactions. That's what we're trying to do. So just like Brian said, the main thing you can do is pray for us. James says it this way. He says, the effectual fervent prayer of a righteous man, everybody knows the King James, don't you? Availeth much. It's powerful and effective. Pray for our kids. Pray for our staff. But I want to end by saying this. How many of you in this audience think that brother and sister H.B. Beach in 1920, when they went to the elders, you know what? If we go do this, they'll be talking about us 104 years later in Oklahoma City? No. My encouragement to you tonight is think about that. One act of kindness, one act of gratitude, one act of sacrifice, one act of giving to something. It changed the future for over 5,000 kids when they did that. You don't know what program you've got started out here. Y'all started last year with the stars. I don't remember the name. Anyway, you don't know what that's going to lead to. You don't know what it is if you buy a kid a gift that's on some angel tree somewhere downtown or something. You don't know what's going to happen when you offer your home to somebody. You never know, because you won't be here. But let me encourage you. Take the time and make the difference in a child's life. Thank you.
So now I'm supposed to say something after those three guys. Well, first off, I can't say thank you enough for putting on a day dedicated to focusing on serving vulnerable children and the families in crisis. So I'm Dirk O'Donnell. I'm with Hope Harbor, and we're in Claremore, Oklahoma. And I really don't know that it's of any benefit for me to go into what we do, because we do about all the same things that you've already heard. But I think rather what my job would be at this point is to be a cheerleader for these other three men, to be a cheerleader for your Rising Stars ministry, and to be a cheerleader for these teenagers sitting right here. Somebody, at some time, some years ago, made an impact on you. Whether you realize it or not, that's why you're still here today. I grew up in the big metropolis of Holdenville, Oklahoma, attended church at the massive congregation in Wewoka, was one of a youth group of one. The reason that I'm still here today is because there were men and women in that congregation that took an interest in me. There were men and women who became my church family. Men who found out that I had a serious addiction with being outdoors and fishing and hunting, and so they began to talk to me about that. Men that found out that I enjoyed playing golf but was horrible at it, but they would still go play golf with me. Women who would care for me and relate to me and visit with me. And it's because of those relationships that when I moved away and I came to college and went to college here in UCO, that I decided to still go find a church and stay connected. The children that each of our organizations serve don't come from those backgrounds, typically speaking. Speaking specifically of the teens that I have the privilege to interact with, few of them have any sort of church experience. None of them, I take that back. Rarely do we have any that have Church of Christ experience. We have, I call them kids, I'm supposed to call them teenagers, but in reality, though they are teenagers, they are as mature as 6 and 8-year-olds. These are the kids whose families have overlooked them, whose society has overlooked. But these are the kids that we are called to serve. This morning I talked about 4 ideas to consider as you move forward in serving vulnerable children and families in crisis. Tim talked about the ideas behind what it is to live out and to have pure religion. Tonight you've heard from these other 3 agencies, and you can see examples of what real life action can look like. As your Rising Stars ministry continues to develop and continues to mature, and as you look forward to the day in which you bring in foster children into this family, you will be living that out more abundantly. And so today, in honor of Stand Sunday, I want to pause and I want to ask that same question that the minister in South Texas asked in 2004 to his congregation. And with this, the thought will be yours. But today, November 12th, 2023, within a 1-block radius of this building, I would estimate that there is over 100 children who don't have a caring family, who don't have somebody that they can rely on to provide food, to provide love, and to provide safety to them. You've heard from 3, and I'll count myself, 4 agencies who are working to serve the children that are brought to us for that. And so tonight I ask you, who will stand with these children in your neighborhood? Who will stand with these children in your church? And who will stand with these children in your families? Jesus told his apostles, look at the fields. They are white for harvest, but the workers are few. Tonight, will you be a worker? Will you be a worker and stand with these children? Stand with our agencies. Stand with your youth group. And stand with your families. The lesson is yours as we stand and sing.